concept of spinning off her character.
So speaking of spinoffs, I don't know if he's Captain America now or Falcon, Captain Falcon. I don't know how it works out. Sam Wilson.
Falcon America.
Yeah, there you go. Sam Wilson.
Yeah.
He now has a shield.
He does.
And in the comics, he takes over the throne as Captain America.
Yep.
Which was another moment my brother got. He created his pants. And so I heard of doing like a buddy cop TV show.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I like that. First of all, I don't know if I like the passing of the torch because what's his name? Evans did such a great job.
Yeah.
And it's hard like to have somebody follow directly. It's almost one of those things where it's like, are you sure you can do this? Like if you don't do this,
and he won't be as good. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that they're going to keep the Avengers alive, and they feel there needs to be a Captain America part of him. Also, he's a military man. He can probably lead in command. I think we'll see this explored.
Rhodes is still military.
Yeah, but he's also older.
Yeah, you're right.
I could see them retiring his character. I mean, dude can't walk without a suit. No, I'm just saying. Yeah, exactly. Kind of also, maybe Falcon's a little bit too. I mean, he ducked, bobbed and weaved a little bit. Should have been taking that shot, but
wait, it was
Vision shot at Falcon, who missed, ducked it, and then it hit Rhodes.
Okay,
yeah.
So saving his life.
There's a whole lot of people that are responsible for him not walking, and none of them are him.
Well,
he's got a lot of people he could be mad at. But yeah, a lot of people were like, "Oh, it should have been Bucky." Well, in the comics, it was, and then it was also Sam. But in the comics, there was a lot more time to develop Bucky coming back and earning everyone's trust. If you really look at the way those movies are, those were very quick. I mean, yeah, there was a 5-year time gap where he was dust, but those were pretty quick, one right after the other.
Yeah.
Most people think he is still a terrorist that killed the king of Wakanda. Yep. They don't come out public and be like, "Hey, everyone, actually, it wasn't him. It was this guy named Zemo who's now in a Wakandan prison. But don't worry, we got it squared away." So no, I don't think he can. They really, I mean, when he shows back up in Infinity War, he was still kind of getting therapy and getting his mind right in Wakanda. So I don't know that he's ready, and I think Cap knew that.
Which reminds me, that whole Bucky Wakanda thing, very, very similar to like the whole Last Samurai.
Yeah.
And it was very much like, I was like, this is the Last Samurai. This is what he's doing.
Yeah, it's similar.
Amongst them,
they combined him with another character from the comics who was known as White Wolf. Who was a white guy who's, there's a lot of plane crashes where the one white guy survives in Africa. And it was that. And he was taken in as T'Challa's like half brother, like adopted brother.
Okay.
And in the comics, they don't use him a whole lot, but he may even be dead for all I know. But he ran the War Dogs. You know, the War Dogs, remember the dad when he was like, They were called the War Dogs. They were sent out secretly to, I guess, kind of spy, but also just like, hey, we're going to intelligence operatives. And he ran them. And that's who his dad was visiting at the very beginning of Black Panther.
Got it.
It was his brother who was one of the War Dogs. So he kind of ran that not a mercenary unit, but it was like the Black Ops for Wakanda.
Got it. Okay.
So a lot of people were expecting, he's going to be in Black Panther 2, like he's going to be White Wolf now. He's not going to be Bucky. But then they announced the show where it's the buddy comedy, which is weird until you go back and watch Civil War and you have the scenes where they obviously hate each other. Yes. And you go, okay, not those characters, but those two actors are pretty funny together. And then when they're fighting Spider-Man, and then at the end he's like, "I hate you so much." Like, I kind of want to see this now, and I don't think it's going to be as comedic as that.
It's going to be Rush Hour, pretty much TV show Rush Hour.
That's what
I'm getting from that.
It could be.
It's not going to be It's not going to be 48 hours.
No,
48 hours is that's two entities who don't like each other at all.
It's the Odd Couple.
Yeah, I can see that.
But maybe they develop a really good relationship. Maybe that's the point of the story. They're not going. Maybe they don't keep it contentious. Yeah, because I can see Falcon's known him for a much smaller amount of time. I can see him picking Bucky's brain a lot. What would he have done in that? I don't worry about what he would have done.
Yeah.
He chose you because he knows you're going to make the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
And Bucky kind of being like, I'm going to stand behind you and I got your back, but you're going to be the forefront of all this.
Mm-hmm.
And him almost being like a mentor even. Because again, like Bucky was, I'm super crazy Russian assassin and da-da-da. Sam's just, not to disrespect any military, but he was just regular military. Yeah, he ran some secret missions with a jetpack, but he may not have all of that.
He doesn't have
that
additional traiing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could see Bucky kind of taking up that mentor role. We'll see. But there's a bunch of shows. The Hawkeye one too.
I see that's where I don't know if I want to see that because I like Jeremy Renner as is. I don't want to kill it.
Yeah. Well, no, they haven't said anything about that. So I know there's been a lot of speculation that it might be what he was doing those 5 years as Ronin.
See, that's still, but that's going to have to be dark.
Yeah.
And that's something Disney doesn't like to do. And they even when you dance that PG-13 fine line,
could be.
They try to I don't see them going that dark.
Yeah.
I will say, again, another thing I'm not happy about is the whole merger of, well, not merger, it's the buyout of Fox.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say this is because I do like the mutants having a darker universe.
A darker feel. Yeah.
And so even Deadpool had that joking around once upon a time with Deadpool where he actually made a PG-13 of his second one. And it's funny because he calls it out, but he's the only one that can get away with that. Everything else is going to be like, can you do it? Can you not do it? Like, what's going to happen? So I don't know. I guess I have to just sit out, wait till it happens.
Yeah, I think they announced by end of summer we're going to see what the slate might be, and I'm curious because they've said Spider-Man Far From Home is technically the end of this phase. They're like Avengers is the most part of it. This is like the real end, the end cap. And since the trailer dropped, have you seen the trailer? They straight up were like, "Hey, multiverse exists, guys."
And that's
so here's the thing.
I was going to talk about that.
They don't necessarily have. Everyone wants mutants to show up, but if we're establishing a multiverse, it doesn't necessarily have to be the MCU. They could be like, "Oh, mutants exist in this universe."
Yeah, they're the heroes.
That way,
of this
we
world.
can keep it different. Why? Because in the comics, it's easy to say if something happens in New York, Spider-Man shows up, but maybe Daredevil shows up, or maybe the Fantastic Four show up, or maybe the X-Men show up. But in a movie, it's like everyone's gonna be like, "Well, if all this is happening, why aren't they all showing up?"
Yeah,
because New York's not that big of a spot. You know what I'm saying? So if they put them in a different universe, they can have crossovers when they need to or want to, but they still don't, like, the Avengers aren't stepping on their toes when they're doing their thing. So
you mentioned that, and we'll wrap it up after this with the whole Endgame Avengers thing. Netflix had its TV shows, right? We all know that, right?
Yeah.
But in the TV show, and this is where he's more familiar with too, Daredevil references the attack in New York.
Oh, absolutely. That was all the same universe.
Luke Cage, the suit that the fake Magneto guy, what's his name? I love Cottonmouth, by the way. Cottonmouth was probably the best villain Hannah has ever.
How amazing was that casting too?
Let's just say Cottonmouth was the show.
Yes.
I watched it because of him.
I agreed.
And when this is a spoiler, but when they killed him, I was so mad. I was like, what are you gonna do now? Because he was it. He was the big bad guy. He was the big bad wolf in that show.
Yeah.
He was the polar opposite of Luke Cage and the perfect polar opposite too.
Yeah.
Because
he was all brains.
Exactly. He was like the Lex Luthor of Superman type of thing. But even in that show, they reference Thor.
Oh yeah.
They referenced.
Well, what wasn't it? The bullet that they made had some kind of material that was left over from the attack.
So
that bullet that drilled into Luke Cage.
And then they had to do the whole vat of acid to get it out. Spoiler. But
if you haven't seen Luke Cage season 1 by now,
I didn't see season 2 yet because I don't know. I wasn't that
so good.
In. I haven't watched season 2 either.
I mean, you're going to be dealing with Mariah and Shades as your not the only villains. I won't say who else is there, but it's good. But unfortunately, man, it ends on a huge cliffhanger because I think they were not expecting to get all of those shows shut down.
86th.
But they set up so much interesting stuff. Luke Cage was probably my favorite out of all of them. It wasn't the best. Like Daredevil was great. The last Punisher season's phenomenal. Iron Fist 2 was way better than Iron Fist 1. But I really like Mike Colton. I really thought he embodied the character. He set that small universe of Harlem up, and I bought it. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I really, really enjoyed it.
I do prefer Defenders as a short. Was it 8 episodes?
Yeah,
and I prefer that. I don't know if you watched Defenders.
I did.
I loved it.
It's just the one season, right?
Yeah. I loved it. The way the characters came together, their interaction. I didn't watch any of Jessica Jones. I have no interest in her. That's another character I have no interest in. Like, why would you give her a show? But Defenders as a whole, I appreciated. And they brought, one of the things I loved about it too is that they brought the soundtrack style of Luke Cage into Defenders.
Yeah, that was
one of the things I loved about it too.
Everybody had a color, kind of. Obviously, Daredevil red, but if you looked at Luke Cage, a lot of the city scenes, they put like a yellow gel. It was like a yellow wash on a lot of, like, I'm in the car and I'm just looking at Harlem as it goes by. And if you look at the early scenes in the first few Defenders, every time they cut to a different character, they did change up the cinematography to match that show.
I might have to watch.
And you're right, and the soundtrack immediately changed, and you got the music that was just like that. And yeah, they definitely had a feel of we're taking you somewhere else now.
Yeah.
And then eventually it all merged, and I think they kind of softened that out a little bit. But those first few episodes, it was very, very obvious, and I dug it. I dug it a lot.
Dude, the final fight scene, you got Wu-Tang for the background music. That was like the best. And like, why no other show movie has done that before?
Yeah.
I mean, you get the closest thing you get to that is Tupac in Django. I don't know if you watched Django, but Tupac's in the final shooting scene. Tupac's playing in the background, but that's the closest thing you get to that as far as that bit of I didn't, you brought that into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to see where they go with this. To kind of switch sides a little bit, DC has some greats coming up, and there's great work in my opinion with both Aquaman and Shazam.
Yeah.
I appreciated both movies. I love both movies. I just watched Shazam again with the kids, and
that was a big surprise for me.
Yeah.
I gonna see them all. I like that character. And people are like, oh, he's just poor man's Superman. It's like, well, no, if you really read the comics, he is written. If he's written well, he's very different from Superman. He's got the same power set, but his morality aspect, he looks up to Superman. I really like their interactions in the comics. And I looked at it, and I was a little leery of Zachary Levi. I know he's loved by Chuck, and and I don't think you can argue this. He didn't put on the weight that Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck did, and it was very obviously he's wearing a muscle suit. And I thought, this is going to take me out of that movie. And I got to say, 5 minutes into the scenes where you're seeing him regularly as Shazam, I realized, no, I don't mind it. And then I found out, and in the comics, they always draw Superman and Shazam with almost identical physiques. It's just it's the way they do it, because they're supposed to be like very, very similar, but with some different morality to them. And I realized they based his muscle suit, and I read an article about it, on Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
So it was it was less about him not putting on enough bulk, but like, no, this is supposed to, if they stand side by side, this is supposed to be superhuman physique.
Which we get a glimpse of that at the end.
Exactly. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I see what they did there. But man, that was great. And then the kind of, spoiler alert, the big surprise with the Marvel family at the end, man.
It's we're about 2 months into it.
It was it was great. Yeah. I was surprised to see that so soon. I didn't think they were going to do it in that movie, but they did it, and boy, was that awesome.
I loved it. It was great. All right, so we'll wrap that up with this part.